Almighty and eternal God, Lord of the universe and maker of all that is, we praise and thank you for all those who denied themselves and laid down their lives for their friends. Grant to those we remember here that their names may be written in your book of life, and give to us grace to walk in the way of faith, hope and love, that we may come at the last with them to that eternal kingdom where you live and reign in the perfect unity of love, one God, now and forever. Amen. We sing our first.
Mayoress, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. In August 1940, the people of this town, Lytham St.Annes, excuse me, took up the challenge of raising enough money to buy a Spitfire for the war effort. An initial gift by a local lady called Miss Ward to the mayor sparked the promotion of the fund. Contributions came from a wide range of people, raised in many ways. Cash gifts, fundraisers by professional groups, children in backstreet concerts, sales of poetry books, and pictures made of silver paper to name but a few. But Lytham felt that it was falling behind just before Christmas, as other towns were already buying aircraft. Blackpool had actually bought 2 aircraft by November. A final push was needed, and it was the women of the town who had an auction of earrings for the cause and ensured that the line was crossed. The finish line was finally crossed, and finally Lytham St.Annes had its plane. A Mark 5B Spitfire. W3644 was its tail number, and it was obviously named after the town. It was completed in July 1941 and entered service with 19 Squadron and was flown by our pilot, Sergeant Alan Lever Ridings, whose photographs are at the front of the stage. Alan joined the RAF at the age of 19 in 1940, and having completed his flight training, he was eventually moved on to Spitfires. Sadly, on the 23rd of June 1942, at 10:30 a.m, whilst escorting bombers to France, Alan was shot down and now rests in the bottom of the Channel, some 6 miles off Start Point in Devon. We of the Lytham St.Annes Spitfire Memorial Fund seek to honour Alan, Fighter and Bomber Command, and all the pilots who gave their lives during World War II. And we dedicate today's service to them. It is only when you begin to get involved in such a project that you begin to meet some of the great men that flew with the RAF, and you hear firsthand their stories. Like Tail End Terry. Tail End Terry was a great character, a rear gunner in Lancasters. Terry was 16 years of old, working as a galley boy on a Grimsby trawler. When he told his captain, "I won't be coming with you next trip, I'm joining the RAF." To which his captain replied, "Don't be such a stupid little boy, you can't fly." Terry replied, "I've been on your boat for a year and I can't swim." And so he lied about his age at only 16, and he joined the RAF in 1944. The pilots, like Alan, who flew these aircraft in defence of our shores, did so without question. They were an average age of 21. They gave their lives in dedication and defence of this country out of pride. And they did so that we could live our lives in freedom. And therefore, There is no truer statement than that famously made by Sir Winston Churchill. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.
Mr. Mayor, honoured guests, Royal Air Force Association, ladies and gentlemen, it's with mixed feelings that I stand here before you today, just to give this reading. Those of you who may be aware of the project, all this today came about from a chance circumstance of a photograph of a Spitfire falling out of a file in the town hall 2 years ago. That picture is in the display trailer to your left, and it was a picture of a W3644 Mark V Spitfire with Lytham St.Annes written on the side. That picture fell at my feet, and they had started the project to the Lytham St.Annes Spitfire display team and the Memoerial Fund. The challenge was finding the pilot and the history of the aircraft, and after 18 months and a campaign across the northwest of England, and thanks to Greater Manchester Radio and Manchester Evening News, I received a telephone call one evening from an old lady that had actually bought the sports car off the family of Sergeant Alan Lever-Ridings. After 6 months, and he hadn't returned from the mission, they decided to sell it. After 18 months, I eventually tracked the family down to Bingley and met with Alan Lever-Ridings, who you can see at the front here, met with his twin sister Joan, whose mother was born in St.Annes-on-Sea, and the grandparents lived in St.Annes-on-Sea from the start of the First World War. Meeting Joan for the first time was quite an emotional occurrence for myself. After 18 months of trying to find her, taking into account it was Alan's twin, it was like looking into the eyes of this young man in front of the platform today. And over the last 12 months, I've had a number of meetings with Joan, Anne and Alan, Alan's nephew and niece, and learnt a lot more about the man that was flying your Spitfire, the Lytham St.Annes Spitfire. As Lee's already said, sadly Alan was killed, but we found lots of things, got his letters, and Joan and his nephew and niece were going to be with us today and honour us with speaking to you people this morning and honouring the work that no doubt your forebearers took part in 1940. Sadly, Joan died on Monday evening, age 86, and the family didn't feel, they're only being buried on Friday, didn't feel that they could be here. So the privilege, bittersweet for myself, is I'm standing here in front of you this morning. I'm glad to say though that Joan at least has sorted the weather out for us all, and I hope you've enjoyed the service and the event. But please let me read these words as written by Anne Selker and her brother Alan to you today. I know that John Coombs has kindly offered to read this out during the service on Sunday. I'm sorry for not being with you in person to help to remember my Uncle Alan. He died, of course, many years before I was born, but his presence was still very much felt by myself and my brothers as we were growing up. My twin brother Alan, as the first son, was naturally named after his uncle. His father tragically died before we were born, and many say that his spirit was shattered on that fateful day on the 23rd of June 1942. Grandmother Nana lived to an amazing age of 96, both former residents of St.Annes-on-Sea, and in all those years not a day went by that she did not look at the door, hoping by some miracle that her darling son would walk through. She wondered, was he taken prisoner? Had he crash-landed somewhere and lost his memory? Was he wandering around somewhere on the continent lost? These questions, I'm sure, are asked by every father, mother and sibling of a lost pilot. For that reason, we feel immensely privileged and proud that it is our uncle who is being remembered by the people of Lytham St.Annes in such a remarkable manner. You can imagine my mother's excitement when John finally tracked her down last year. Although a little frail, and at the time she was very much looking forward to participating in today's event. Sadly, her health deteriorated considerably over the last year, and we had already decided that I and my family would be her representative to be able to provide her with a full account of today. Sadly, this was not to be. Her final demise came swiftly, and she died peacefully less than a week ago on the evening of Monday the 16th of August. To paraphrase Sir Winston Churchill, all our hearts go out to the fighter pilots whose brilliant actions we see day after day. I hope, indeed I pray, that we can be found worthy of their victory, which after such toil and tribulation, should it be granted to us. The thoughts of my brother Alan, myself and my family are with all of you in Lytham St.Annes today.
And up, 2, 3, down.
We will remember them.
We will remember them.
Ceremonial party with the right turn!